I fully understand you, and thank you so much for also the audience for being here, for everyone. And if you
Hello.
have questions for Jean, please feel free. He's been going through this journey of having his own project and building it from scratch. So feel free to ask all the questions you have. But it's very inspiring, Jean, to have you here, because I was always wondering, and a lot of people were asking me, "Oh, Melanie, do you know an African Netflix? Do you know any platform where we can find actually African movies?" And there were always also a bit of skepticism from investors to tell me, like, "But how can you build something that will compete against Netflix and Amazon Prime?" And that wouldn't make sense business-wise. But you the exact the proof that they were wrong. And can you tell us a little bit more, like, how it was to basically break into this industry? Although, as you said, you're a non-for-profit, still you managed to compete with them somehow, given that Netflix is also trying more and more to get Nollywood movies and Kenyan movies on board. So at some point you'll be hand in hand with them. And how do you feel about that, and what is your strategy, let's say?
Okay, I'm gonna make a stupid comparison, because I think saying that it's not possible to have another type of film platform than Netflix, I think it's a stupid question. I'm sorry. Because why? Okay, let's take the shoe market. Okay, you have Nike and you have Adidas. Are they the only two brands of shoes in the world?
No, they're not.
You have thousands and thousands of brands, Chinese brands, European brands, I don't know, African brands. There is space for everybody. Sure. And the film market is even bigger. Why? Because first, films are made by creators. Creators are, it's an infinite pool of creativity. So we are just beginning of having African creators telling their stories, African and also diaspora creators. So absolutely. I think telling that the idea that you're going to run out of films is not possible. Then the second thing is that, of course, there is space for everybody, because, you know, the audience, they are able to watch movies on Netflix, but also they can go on Amazon if they find the movies that they love. So it's more the idea of, do you know the movies that people love? Do you know the movies that Africans will really like? And maybe they will not really like the Netflix shows. Maybe they will really like other things. I'm really, I'm really amazed by the work of this YouTube channel called Marodi TV, which is a West African Senegalese channel that do actually their own local content. They talk about African stories, Senegalese stories, let's say more precisely. And it's watched in Senegal, it's watched everywhere in the West African diaspora and even in the world. So how can you tell me that it's not a world that can exist? It can exist. So I think, I don't have any fear on that. Then in the economic, then how do you make sure you have a platform that people will like, with the features, with the best shows, or at least great shows, and also the capacity to communicate on that platform? Of course, now you have to find the right mechanisms, the right marketing, and of course the right funding to do that. It's not, you can't be like a Netflix or a company like, let's say, just Amazon or Hulu or even an HBO Max. You can't do that in a second. You have to build it over time, over years. And of course, we have examples of companies that try to say we are like Netflix and failed. We never said we are Netflix. We never say that. And you will never see me say it. You will never see me say it, because we are not. First of all, I will say something to everybody that's here. First of all, the platform, as we thought of it, was not meant to be a Netflix. It was meant to be a festival all year long, with movies and selection and curation. So we come from a festival background, and we still have this festival background. So it's more a Cinewax platform. It's our model. We are not trying to copy someone else's model.
And it is very, I'm so happy that you bring that up, because it is very important to kind of emphasize this. Like when you see also other companies that succeeded, like Safaricom in Kenya, for instance, or even Jumia in Nigeria, even if it's controversial, but they've also added their own model, because you cannot do logistics the way that Amazon does it in America. You cannot do telecommunication the way that Vodafone would do it in Europe. So that's why it's very inspiring. And at the same time, I feel, and I don't know what you feel about that, but at least also the problem of the African movie industry is also maybe that a lot of distributors don't understand, or are not taking the time to understand the industry in Africa, and maybe look down on it. We have the impression, at least from my perspective in the diaspora, that there's not enough movies in Africa that are promoted, because they're just not even considered by those distributors. And at least with a company, like with a foundation like yours, or an organization like yours, that is willing to go that direction and wants to support primarily those African movie makers, then you can it can give you the chance for the potential of the industry. And on that, I just have another question, like what is your perspective on the African movie industry, which is huge? Africa is not a country, but you have the difference between Nigeria and the other countries. Can you please tell us a little bit more about it, as a lot of us are beginners, especially me. So just to tell us how you would segment all of this, and how do you see this industry moving going forward?
It's a complex question, but I will try to simplify as I can. First of all, kind of a historic background on the creation of African film industries in the cinema industries in Africa. First of all, cinema was imported into Africa. It was not born into Africa. Everybody knows that. And the problem that it was imported is that it was imported by Western countries at the beginning. And then the countries themselves tried to kind of replicate a Western model into their countries. What happened is that was during colonization and after at the end of colonization. And then when the Western country left, they left what they had, but then there was like kind of a mirror age of what was happening, but it was years after years, it was kind of this mirror of the system was just like not corresponding to what was really happening and moving forward in the Western world. And what's happening is that cinema is not just a movie maker industry. It's not just the filmmaker that thinks the work and then do it. It's a great industry. You have the filmmakers, you have the producers who help finance the movies, who helps making the crew and make sure the film is shot in time and then delivered. You have the film distributor who takes the final movie and put it into several channels, TV channels, exhibitors, film theaters, etc., festivals. And you have also the channels. I mean, the point of, we can say point of sale, but the point of where you can see the films, festivals, TV channels, broadcasters in general. And then you also have the media that talks about films, the media environment. So it's a whole thing. And also you have the state which makes policies, tax helps to do the shots, the shootings in the countries. You have a lot of things. So African countries today don't have the same level of organization for all these things than the Western countries, and that's a major problem. So then, if you look at Africa in a whole, that's the problem. But if you look at some regions, some countries, they are faster or they are farther than the others. So you take the example of Nigeria, South Africa, or even Northern Africa, you take the example of Egypt. Mm-hmm. And what's happening is just that they had a better way of creating and then distributing and then showing and talking about the films. And also they also had film houses. So for instance, I think today in South Africa you have something like 700 film houses, which is a lot for in comparison to other countries. In Senegal you have less than 10. And for instance, if you compare these numbers to other westernized countries, France, you have 5,000 screens. I mean, with COVID, you're gonna lose half of them, but it's a lot, 5,000. And in US, you have 44,000 screens. So which means the opportunities for a movie to be screened is much more higher, and the opportunities for a movie to get tickets is much more higher. So that was my historical points on, okay, African film industry. Can we even talk about an African film industry? If you talk about that, you talk about distributors that are able to distribute a movie from Nigeria to Senegal to Kenya to South Africa. I'm not sure it's really happening today, but it will come. So then we're talking about the streaming market, just the streaming platform. So, you have Stars Play, you have DSTV with Stars Play, and you also have iRocco TV. I mean, you had iRocco TV, and you have new platforms coming in the game, and you have Canal Plus, My Canal, you have Netflix. I mean, a lot of people are launching in Africa and are here for years. The business as a whole is worth something like 400 million euro. In 2025, it will be worth 1.7 billion euros, dollars, sorry. But that's nothing, because if you compare to the OTT business, so it's called over-the-top business, worldwide is $85 billion.
Oh my God.
All right, so 1.785. We are far from what could be the reality. And I think what is coming now is that you have more people getting access to internet and to 4G, maybe 5G in the next years. You have more people getting more income in Africa across different countries, and people are also willing to watch more entertainment. You can see it. I'm just going to name something I know, like live TV in Ivory Coast, which is a media. They just launched their own TV series. So you have more and more content coming. You have, of course, Nollywood. I'm not going to talk about Nollywood. It's obvious what's happening. But what I'm saying is that over the next years, I see more and more content being produced and being available for African viewers. And then you just have to be able to do content that people will like. And what I'm saying, content, it might be original shows, it might be short films, it might be series, it might be big production. It's a different kind of content. And I think the key is that you cannot evolve in this industry if you don't do content that people will watch. This is just very simple. Cannot stay in line.
Yeah, it's okay, Jen Soledad. It was very nice to have you here. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Jean, for this very comprehensive presentation of this industry that is so important and interesting for us. We understand now the whole supply chain, let's say, of the movie industry, and we see that there is a lot of potential. I can feel the potential you're talking about. So you as an organization, how are you planning in the future? That was also the question of African Abroad blog. How are you planning to basically scale along that wave and along that potential of markets? Are you planning to fundraise, for instance, from organizations, from investors? Are you planning to